Hey guys, it's been a while. I'm in the middle of a lot of stuff, but I wanted to talk briefly, now that I can, about some of the disappointments I've had lately within this hobby. All right, so yeah, as you can see, there is a change of space here. It's going to be pretty cool. I'll give you the whole tour once it's set up. I'm getting a new Geek and Sun table set up, so I'll be showing you that. We got painting stations to set up and paints to put on the walls, and I got a ton of shelves to build and models to display, and it's going to be really cool. I can't wait to show you guys. It's going to be a great space for the hobby, and I highly suggest, if you can, make a space for your hobby. I have gone the whole gamut, right? I started in not even like I had a tiny little office and a 2x4 shelf of games that didn't even fit that 2x4 shelf. Okay, so I've come a long way. And I remember having to play board games on the dining room table. I remember having to play Warhammer on a giant board plank that I purchased and set on my island so it was big enough, right? I've been there, I've done that, and it works. But if you can't get a space, it is certainly nice to have just this a space to enjoy this hobby. When you spend so much money on it, it just kind of makes sense, I feel. And I'm excited to have this space here for it. And I'm excited to show you guys. But I'm not here for that. I'm here for disappointments. So before I get to any more disappointments, because I do have a few, and they range from personal to industry. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for being here, of course. Thank you for continuing to support the channel, especially when it comes to clicking this video, viewing it, or sharing it, because the algorithm hates me right now. It does. So I had Patreon subscribers that didn't see my last few videos even, okay? Because it didn't share it with them. It didn't even show it to them. So if you can help fix that algorithm, thank you so much. I want to keep posting content. We're going to get back to it. It'll be fine, I'm sure, in the long run. But for now, thank you so much. Okay, so disappointments. I mean, the first one, very obvious, God of War. You remember this like shot up in my top 10 hype list, right? I mean, this is something that I was super duper stoked about. I remember seeing God of War mentioned on a financial report for Come On and showing it to you guys just because I wanted to highlight, hey, God of War is actually coming the board game, because it was teased way back when by Eric Lang, right? Where he's like, of course, we're come on, we make minis and board games, because they only had the card game at the time. So, like, obviously it was going to be a board game. That being said, that means that they were talking about it from years ago. And Come On made what with it? They did what with it? Now, this was specifically based off the 2018 remake of God of War, which meant that obviously action combat, right? That's big. But the big thing there, the big deal of it all, was the story, the narrative of the whole thing. Not just that. And of course, there's, gear unlocked, there's a little bit of RPG stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can do there. But one of the big things is narrative. And narrative continues to be a disappointment for me across the entire industry, where I rarely feel like it's done well. And there are good stories in these games, don't get me wrong. But when we talk about narrative board games, and then when we talk about narrative video games, I feel like there's a big gap there, right? I like some board games, don't get me wrong. But video game storytelling has become so powerful and so well done. And I haven't seen that quite come from the board game industry. And I'm not sure it's even possible. That's maybe a topic video for another video. But because you have to like play the game, and there's weeks in between when you play it, and then there's the gameplay and how the story doesn't necessarily mesh with the gameplay, because you don't want to keep interrupting it to like read a story out loud, and so maybe a foreteller's answer. There's a lot of options there. I think there's some paths forward, but either way, God of War doesn't look like that. It reminds me of Bloodborne, and that sucks because I'm actually giving Bloodborne away. I love Bloodborne, and I liked a lot of the gameplay in the Bloodborne board game. But it was this like one of the things that makes a Dark Souls game is the master-crafted level design, the interconnectedness of it, and the way things loop on each other and do all that. And so then just to have like random tiles shows me, regardless of the balance, shows me that there was a fundamental detachment from one of the core aspects, I feel, of the video game. And that may be a problem too, because I know Michael Chanel, who did the Bloodborne board game, first of all, it's a job and he's working for a boss, right? So it's not just anything he could ever create, right? There are going to be things that have to be practical to sell it as a product, right? I get that. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes people get different things out of something when it comes to an IP. So for me, level design is huge on Bloodborne, and level design was not a big focus on the board game. Therefore, it wasn't so much Bloodborne, right? And I think the same thing here with the narrative of the remake, the mature storytelling, the father and son kind of aspect of that whole thing, deep dive into the Norse mythology and stuff like that, kind of isn't there. That's why I didn't get the card game, right? The same kind of thing. That's not what I'm getting out of the board games made. So either way, the campaign just, I mean, there weren't a lot of minis, so I know a lot of people were upset about that, of course, and it looks more like Death May Die God of War edition, which Death May Die is a great game, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a great God of War game. I don't know. It was not what people expected, and that's the key. That's my disappointment here. Not so much that they made a game that isn't for me, but that they didn't do the correct thing you should always do, which is set proper expectations. For any game developer watching this video right now, set expectations accordingly. Because you'll see, if you just tease it, and I understand you tease things, right? And I get that. But if you start seeing people create a narrative that it doesn't match or have expectations that doesn't match, all you're going to do is breed negativity and disappointment, hence this video, on the campaign. And that involves comments, that involves remarks, that makes people make threads on BGG, that makes people come to videos like this and talk about it, right? If you set proper expectations, then they can check out before they feel they're invested, before they're excited about it. And they'll be like, oh, that's just not for me. It's way better to do that before the campaign than upon launch of the campaign. People use the preview page on GameFound, on Kickstarter, right? On BackerKit, all these. Like, seriously, it's super important because the more people understand they're not surprised about price, they're not surprised about products and bundles, they're not surprised about what the game is. If they don't know that going into day one, then you have done a very big disservice to your own campaign because there's going to be people that are expecting something you're not providing. Just say, hey, this is what we're making. Hey, we're just making this board game. It's essentially, this or that, or it does this, or it'll cost this much. You'll be golden. That's way better than the alternative, trust me. Okay, so I was disappointed because it definitely isn't a game for me. I hope it's great. I hope people enjoy it. I might still get it. I do love the IP. Been playing since the first one, but I definitely like the remake and stuff more. So yeah, we'll see. Okay. Next disappointment. My disappointment here is a little bit of a personal one, but I think all of you guys can relate. So right there, that black, long, not the top one, but the bottom one that's getting squished right now. I'm going to fix that, okay? Don't worry about it. That's a prototype. That is an unopened prototype. That is a prototype that I really want to play. Right, and again, we'll talk about that. Probably want to do the studio tour. Maybe I'll talk about it. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a personal video, post it unlisted on Patreon so you guys can go there to watch it, but it's not going to mess with the algorithm or anything like that because I know most of you guys aren't interested in that, and that's fine. So I'll tell you about this whole saga and what happened and all that. But suffice it to say, I missed out on some campaigns I was excited about. Some games I was excited about. And that sucks. And I know you guys have been there. When you first get into the crowdfunding campaign stuff, you start seeing all the campaigns you missed, right? Or you go on vacation, or you get sick, or life gets in the way for a bit or whatever. And you come back and you're like, I missed it. And that kind of limited time really sucks. Now, I know I can late pledge, and I get that. And late pledge is great. I love that. I think it's fantastic. But it's not part of the campaign. And then you see stuff that you missed that you can't even late pledge anymore. And it just really, really sucks. It really does. It's quite the disappointment to have something that you're excited about, that you're looking forward to, and you miss out. And as these campaigns are shorter and shorter, it becomes an easier and easier thing to miss. You could check out for a week and miss an entire campaign at this point. And that seems kind of crazy. I mean, well, you can go on a cruise, you can do whatever, right? Focus on your family, have a life event, anything like that takes you away from the net for just the briefest amount of time, and you've missed the entire campaign. Now, again, you can late pledge now. That's typically very good if you can remember, because there's normally a delay between the late pledge and when we can do that. But man, I hate missing stuff. So I'm disappointed that I let a company down, obviously, right? They sent me a prototype that's not exactly the cheapest thing ever, and I haven't done it. I will, by the way. You're going to see some late unboxings. I have had stuff delivered that's still brand new in the box. I'm excited to open it. And so it's going to be kind of weird. They're not going to be the best videos when it comes to viewership. Again, I appreciate it if you do watch it, of course, but I'm really disappointed that I missed out on a whole lot, that I let some people down, obviously, when I wasn't here. And we'll that's another disappointment, so we'll get to that. And that obviously, I'm now late to everything. That sucks. Okay, final disappointment. I'm disappointed that this industry isn't farther along when it comes to media coverage. So I got a lot of emails. Some of them I were able to briefly read, maybe partway through, a few all the way through. Never to the point where I could properly respond to them, right? I mean, literally, it's been to the point where I've just been checking it. Either I see the notification on my phone, or maybe late at night at some point, or something like that. But I haven't been in a position to be able to do this job, which is really what it has kind of transformed into. And I think that in an important way, because you treat a job differently than you treat a hobby. When I treated this as just a hobby, this YouTube thing, it was just me talking with the camera. I didn't care, right? I was just having fun, right? Well, the things I say matter. The things I'm investigating are important to a lot of people, right? The things I talk about and show off and share with you guys has a lot of money involved, both for you guys and your personal bank account and these companies and what they're expecting to get out of it, right? When I switched my mindset from that to a job, I'm a little bit more serious about it, a little bit more thorough about it, I'm a little bit more dedicated about it, right? All that kind of, like, it was a good shift, okay? But I wasn't able to properly do the job, at least not to the point that I could have winged stuff, right? I could have maybe talked about stuff, the quality would have been way, way lower, and I would not have been happy about it, and I'm sure I would have made a mistake. Because a lot of this is investigation, is looking into things, is reading up on things, reading through campaigns, reading through comments and updates and sending emails and doing all that kind of stuff, right? And you guys kept contacting me, which is great, and thank you. Keep doing that. It's how I hear about a lot of stuff. I appreciate it, whether it was email, comments, whatever. But the fact that you didn't necessarily have a lot of other options to reach out to, that kind of bothers me. That disappoints me. I don't want to be the only person in this space doing this, right? Now, I know there's a few others, right? I saw Alex mentioned quite a bit of times. I saw Liege mentioned quite a bit of times. By all means, go where you feel you need to go to get the information you need when it comes to talking about this sort of stuff. But it just, we need to progress past this, right? I'm not saying it necessarily even has to be YouTube. Like, I don't care what the format is necessarily. But we need to get this industry to a point where it's self-checking itself, right? This is like basic 101 for an industry, right? Where like if there's some fishiness going on, or a fall through here or whatever, that these companies are being reported on and talked about. And that doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. A lot of times it's this explanation. The most common thing I see is just really bad communication. I think the last thing I did was on Red Joker and their lack of communication and stuff like that. And I need to follow up on that, obviously, now, right? I need to see what happened. But it's to the point where I know these companies are small. I know these companies often are small. Really, in the grand scheme of things, they are small. And this industry is small, and I'm looking at a niche portion here, of course, but this niche portion spends thousands of dollars a year. I'm not telling you to go total your number. Feel free to share it if you want to, though, because maybe it'll make me feel a bit better on how much money I spend in this industry every single year. I've picked up boxes, I'm like, there's over $1,000 in this box. And I move and I'm like, what the heck is wrong with me, right? So we spend a lot of money in this, and obviously we want answers. But it bothered me that you guys felt that at times you had nowhere else to go to. That's not because I want that weight on my shoulders or anything. I mean, obviously there is a little aspect of that, but we got to get better at this as an industry when it comes to coverage, when it comes to talking about this stuff and sharing information and getting answers. I like that I do have a platform because often it means I do get a response. You guys email these companies and you don't hear back at all. I email these companies and often I do because they know, and often I'm pretty terse in the email, or at least very factual, right? We're like, hey, I'm doing a video. You can respond or not, but it's going to be part of the video. And then often I'll get a response back. And that's unfortunate that like I have to do that to even get it, right? Or that you guys aren't able to get these answers otherwise. But yeah, we need to get better at that. I was kind of disappointed to not only just drop the ball, but see that you guys felt like you didn't really have a whole lot of options to go to otherwise. If there are other options, if you were able to watch other people that gave you kind of similar coverage, feel free to share it with everybody else down in the comments below. I think that's it for now. Obviously, I have a lot of work ahead of me. This is not everything, not even close. And there's more downstairs that's still prepped to ship that I'll be doing that. Again, I'll be doing an update on that. I'll be doing regular updates. I'm back. I'm literally back now. I have moved. Things are settled down now, right? I still have a lot of work on building kids' beds and building a bajillion shelves, apparently, and bringing all that heavy stuff up and all that. But either way, we're here. Like literally today, I'm getting internet. Okay, so that's why I'm filming this, because I know I can upload it. So that'll be exciting, guys. I missed you. I apologize if this was a negative video. I didn't want it to be focused on necessarily the disappointments, but on the solutions to those disappointments. So hopefully that came across in this video. I do try to think of that ahead of time, because otherwise I'm just complaining online, and that's kind of dumb. But if you have anything you would like to add to this, or any comments you have, of course, that does help the algorithm. And I'm actually interested. I'll actually be able to sit down on my computer and read comments again. I'm so excited. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you guys again very soon. And I actually will this time. Bye, guys.